Hey everyone, I'm Casey Hollins, and you're watching the Sportsnet Digital Dose. We've got Ben Nicholson-Smith from Sportsnet in studio today to talk a little bit about baseball and Blue Jays in particular. They're not really doing so hot right now. They're not doing terribly, but it's not the big bang start to the season that we'd kind of hoped for. What do you credit that with?
You know, I think that injuries play a part, but it's beyond that. I mean, Jose Reyes only accounts for so much, and Jose Bautista when he's been out of the lineup as well. I think that they just haven't gotten good starts from their starting pitchers often enough. It's been better lately with Jay Happ, and then R.A. Dickey really showing some promise more recently, but you know, this team just hasn't been consistent in the way they need to be, and then some of their bats, like Edwin Encarnacion, just have not been hitting. So you put all that together, and all of a sudden you've got a team that, you know, isn't completely out of it, but hasn't had the start that they wanted.
Yeah, it's almost like they're not clicking. And I know at the plate there's not a lot going on is the problem. Can you maybe just explain that a little bit to me? I know there's a couple guys there in particular that are just really not performing the way that the Jays need them to.
Yeah, it's pretty funny with Colby Rasmus and JP Arancibia, because these are two guys who have a lot of home runs, JP Arancibia with 7, Rasmus with 4, and yet they're striking out a whole lot. So you look at this, and it's just an odd combination of stats, because rarely do you see players who have this kind of power and yet who are striking out so much. So I'm not sure if this trend is going to continue, but at this point, it's pretty weird. You know, you see players sometimes like Josh Hamilton misses a lot, swings a lot, strikes out a lot, and hits home runs. But I'm not really sure that Colby Rasmus and JP Arancibia are scaled down versions of Josh Hamilton. I don't know how this is going to go.
I know Gibbons did say something that, you know, that they are swinging too much. They're just going after too much. So maybe that's something that he will have a chat with them about, hopefully.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, I think that these are two players who are going to strike out a lot. Last year, they were both over 100 in strikeouts. I'm sure that'll happen again this year, given that they're already bumping up against 30. So I do expect them to strike out a lot. It's just a question of being productive in the at-bats when you do make contact. Some players can do that. They can strike out 100 times a season and still be really productive in their other 400 or 500 plate appearances. But I'm not sure if Rasmus and Arancibia are going to be able to do that. So far, though, at least they're showing the power.
Now, I know you've got something coming up on the website that kind of elaborates on all of this and strikeouts in particular. Can you give us just a little taste of when that's going to be? It's going to be up later this afternoon or this evening, so you guys will be able to read it maybe, you know, when you get home from work, over the dinner table. What can we expect to learn in that?
Well, strikeouts are up around Major League Baseball, and this is a trend that's been happening for the last 8 years, and you can scale it back beyond that to the last 2 decades or so. Every year, it's an increase. Hitters are striking out more. This is a combination of a lot of things, pitchers, batters, even umpires, and it's happening. So the Blue Jays are far from the only team that's striking out a lot. The Reds are a team that leads the major leagues in scoring. They've struck out more than the Blue Jays. So you can strike out a lot and score. Blue Jays are striking out a lot. They're just not scoring enough.
Right. Well, it's interesting. Maybe they'll figure out how to do that. Now, the Blue Jays have their second run at the Orioles tonight. They kind of lost late in the game last night. It was not very impressive, but they've got another shot tonight. So they're in Baltimore. You can catch that game with coverage beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sportsnet Pacific, Ontario, and Sportsnet East. Anyway, that's all we've got for now, but thanks for coming in, Ben.
Thanks, Casey.
And check back here in a little bit for another Sportsnet Digital Dose.